Back in 2001, many of you were here then, we all read the book by Jim Collins, Good to Great. And in that book, he describes level 5 leadership. He tried to get away from leadership being a difference maker in successful organizations, but he just couldn't. I've been working with Michael now for 9 years, and I can tell you he epitomizes the attributes of a level 5 leader, but two in particular stand out for me that Collins really emphasized when I had lunch with him in 2001 on September 12th, the day after 9/11, which was real interesting. Humility and purposefulness, a strong desire and will to get things done. And that's what our new CEO is all about, getting results, but also maintaining his humility and his focus on mission while he does that. So it's now my responsibility and pleasure to introduce our incoming CEO, Mr. Michael Ugwueke. Michael? Good luck.
Thank you, Gary, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wow, look at this. Quite a lot of people here. I don't think I've seen it this way before, so it's very impressive. It is truly humbling for me to stand before you this morning, truly as the incoming CEO of our great organization. 9 years ago, when I came to Methodist, I can truly and honestly tell you that this was not something that I dreamt of or even imagined possible. Before I continue, I want to just take a quick second again to say thank you to Gary and the board for their unanimous vote of confidence in me. And I also want to thank all of you for your well wishes, your phone calls, as well as your emails. Clearly, no one does anything by themselves, quite frankly. And the credit truly belongs to all of you in this room. So before I go on, I'm going to answer a quick burning question that on some people's mind. Just some, not everyone. And the question is, how do you pronounce my last name? I have been called a lot of things. And quite frankly, it doesn't bother me. To be honest, it doesn't bother me. In fact, I give people credit for trying to pronounce a very difficult name. But if you must know, an authentic Nigerian from the southeastern part of the country would pronounce it as Ugwueke. So we're going to have a little tutorial. And I want you to repeat after me. Let's try it. Let's say Ugwueke. So Ugwu means respect. And Eke means from birth or ages, whichever one you prefer. So Ugwueke simply means respect from birth. That's what it means. So now that you've been properly schooled, I'm sure you will do fabulously well. No pressure. So speaking of my last name, I would really like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself and my journey to this point. As most of you imagined, I don't really like to talk about myself much. I know that comes as a complete surprise to all of you, right? So 36 years ago, when I left Nigeria to come to the United States to pursue higher education, little did I know then that I would be in this country 36 years later. You see, my drive to come to the United States was simply based on my passion to come and get a medical education so that I could go back to Nigeria and make a difference in the lives of those that had no options, just like I was when I was growing up. I am first of 5 boys or sons. Yeah. And my parents had no formal education. My dad started as a bicycle repair apprentice at 5 years old and became a car mechanic and ultimately a Caterpillar repair mechanic, and worked for a major construction company. Ultimately, he started his own construction company. He was truly, truly my inspiration. I learned a great deal from him. Work ethic, integrity, and self-determination. My mom was a homemaker and a trader. She sold fruits and vegetables or whatever was in season at the time, mostly oranges, mangoes, etc. My first job at 5 years old was to help her with whatever she was selling. So you can easily say that my entrepreneurial spirit started very early in life. We lived in a one room rather, it's not a bedroom, one room, which had a shared communal kitchen and a communal bathroom. We were relatively happy. Not much, but we were relatively happy. Until that fateful day in 1967, the southeastern part of Nigeria, called Biafra, decided to declare their independence from the country. That attempt led to a civil war. And they wanted to declare their independence because the Biafrans were marginalized by the government, and there was massacre of the Biafrans who were mostly Christians. So that attempt plunged the country into a 3-year civil war. And that civil war killed over 2 to 3 million people that were considered by every world organization as a genocide. I was about 8 years old at the time. And when the war started, there were a lot of carnage, a lot of people dying, both from starvation as well as diseases. I lost a younger brother during that war. We became refugees, moving from one refugee camp to another refugee camp. In one instance, I was disconnected from my parents. They moved to a different camp, and I went to a different camp. I thought they were killed. They thought I was killed. You can imagine the impact that war had on me growing up as a young kid, having observed the unnecessary death and carnage that happened, and even losing my brother. The war ended in 1970. I went back to school, finished high school, after 2 unsuccessful attempts to get into a medical school in Nigeria. And by the way, you could go directly from high school to medical school there. You don't have to go through undergrad. I decided to come to the United States to pursue a medical education. Went to Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. Finished my undergrad in 3 years, working every odd job that you can think of. Started working initially at a Western Sizzler restaurant. I don't think they still have those restaurants anymore. Did some construction, production work, ultimately did some convenience store clerk work, which was, quite frankly, a promotion back then. And when I finished graduate school in 3 years, it dawned on me in the reality, quite frankly, set in, and that's when I realized I couldn't afford my medical education. And I continued to work, trying to save up some money, not exactly sure what to do next. One of my professors, a biology professor, Dr. Suka, asked me if I'd considered going to School of Public Health, which I knew nothing about. So I ended up applying to Emory and was accepted on the School of Public Health. So went to Emory. While I was there, I met a classmate that was working at Georgia Baptist Hospital in Atlanta. And after the first year, she asked me to come to the hospital and do a couple of projects for her. I went to do the project. The project turned out to become my first job in healthcare. I became the hospital planner. I loved planning, data analytics, research, marketing. After 3 years with Baptist, I left and started my own market and research company, which I ran for about 5 years. While I was doing that, I was recruited by South Fulton Medical Center in Atlanta as the director of planning. While at South Fulton, took a trip to Washington, D.C., met my lovely wife, Rebecca, in Washington, D.C. Incidentally, she's also from Nigeria. Both parents insisted that we will have to come to Nigeria to get married. So, first of all, to make it legal, we have to get married in the United States first. So we went to court, got married in the court, then went to Nigeria, had a traditional wedding, went back the second year, had a church wedding. So you can say that I'm married to the same woman 3 times. And let me tell you, she reminds me every anniversary of one of those 3 weddings to make sure that I buy presents for her. So we have 2 lovely kids, Michelle, my daughter, who is 18 and about to go to college, which we're fretting right now, and my son, Michael, who is 14 years old. While at South Fulton Medical Center, I was recruited to Sarasota Memorial Hospital in Sarasota, Florida, 860-bed hospital, as the executive director for corporate strategy. I was there 3 years, and then I was recruited again from Sarasota to Washington Hospital Center, 950-bed facility, part of the MedStar system, and had its own zip code, believe it or not. And I was there for about 3 years. And I was recruited again to Provena Health in Chicago, a 7-hospital health system, initially as the regional vice president for strategy and business development, and was later on promoted to VP of operations for the flagship hospital. And after that, I was called, came to Memphis in 2007, and didn't really know a whole lot about the system, but I was highly, highly impressed with the leadership team when I interviewed. And there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to be a part of this team. Here we are, 9 years later on. I've been appointed as the incoming CEO of this wonderful organization. Again, this was not a role that I imagined or saw coming or dreamt about. As a first-generation immigrant with no money and no relatives in the United States, with no intentions of even staying. So you can imagine how surreal this experience really is. As I said earlier, no one, and truly no one, accomplishes anything by themselves. A lot of people deserve credit for me standing here before you this morning. First, I'll give the credit to my wife, Rebecca, who believed in me, followed me across the country wherever I was going, at the expense of her own career, raised our wonderful 2 kids while I'm spending countless hours at the hospitals. Second is Dr. Suka, my biology professor that I mentioned to you earlier, that was the one that introduced me to public health. Patsy Westall, lady that gave me my first job at Baptist. Neil Copeland, the CEO that I worked for at South Florida Medical Center, Michael Covert, the CEO that recruited me to Sarasota Memorial and recruited me again to Washington Hospital Center when he went there, and Tom Hansen, who brought me to Provena, and finally, Peggy Troy and Gary Schaub that took a chance and hired me as the CEO of Methodist South Hospital. But ultimately, the credit, quite frankly, belongs to the North and South associates that I had the privilege and honor to work with side by side to create a culture of high performance geared towards providing services to those that have truly entrusted their care to us. And also to my CEO colleagues that I've had the utmost respect and honor to work with over the last 9 years. I do know that I have a reputation of being a metrics-driven leader. And the results are what matter most to me. To some extent, that is true. But it's not the whole truth. It's not the whole story. You know, we don't make widgets. We are truly in the business of prevention, healing, and creating hope for all those that have entrusted their care to us. When you hear some of the stories about our Power of One culture, there are no numbers attached to it. They're just simple feelings, how people feel. And our associates go above and beyond, unrehearsed acts that they perform to address things, sometimes even violates our own policies. But that's what makes us who we are. And when we do it consistently and do it well, the results follow. Over the last several years, we've advanced our culture-shaping journey, and we've made significant progress. We've created the three-letter acronym MLH, which is our service and quality, aware of addressing our goals. And over the same time period, we've never wavered in our commitment to our mission, to all of you, and to all of our associates, and to our greater Memphis community. That is what W. Edward Deming, the father of modern-day quality, calls the constancy of purpose. As your incoming CEO, that's the same legacy that I wanted to uphold. Our previous CEOs, or most recent CEOs, Maurice Elliott and Gary Schaub, have never wavered on our commitment to our Power of One. In fact, among other things, other accomplishments from Gary, he clearly introduced us to the Power of One, the belief that all of us can truly make a difference in the lives of patients that we serve. You know, our Power of One story started 100 years ago when John Sherrod, a Mississippi farmer, came to Memphis to visit with his Methodist pastor at a charity Catholic hospital and decided that we need a Methodist hospital. He didn't go back and create a committee or a task force. He just took action. And that one single action has resulted to this faith-based healthcare system that we now call Methodist Laburnum. Now we have MLH, a simple way to make our Power of One come alive every day, both at work and at home. I strongly believe that MLH will ensure our continuity of our mission over the next 100 years. So you've seen it before. Make a connection, listen to understand needs, and honor those commitments. I have to tell you, just reflecting back on my journey, I'm struck by how MLH has truly played a role in my life without even knowing what the acronyms were, incidentally. My coming to Methodist was not completely by accident. It was a connection that was made at a conference in Baltimore with one of the associates that worked at Methodist. That was how I was invited to interview here. So if it wasn't for that connection, I probably wouldn't be standing here today. So again, it was not something, obviously, that I knew about back in those days. Listen to understand needs. And this is active listening, not just listening, passive listening. This is an active listening. One of the things that I remember very early in my career, and the importance of listening and clarification. A CEO came in town, told his team that he wanted his presence known in Atlanta at the time, back in the 80s. The team didn't ask any questions. They interpreted that request to mean something completely different from what the CEO was asking for. Spent a lot of money, built some services, programs, that's what we do, only to find out those programs failed. During the post-mortem process, question was raised, how did we get to this point? And turns out this goes back to the CEO, you said you wanted your presence. No, the CEO said, no, that's not what I wanted, that's not what I meant. So if we had just taken a second to listen and ask clarifying questions to what he meant, all of that could easily have been avoided. Honoring commitments. Again, my first job, as I mentioned to you, was I was called to come in and do a project. I was told the project will last for 4 months. It was finished in 1 month. They said they'll continue to pay me for the rest of the time. And quite frankly, I didn't have to come to work, but I was there the next day because I had a commitment, and I wanted to fulfill that commitment. And I was talking to my wife about MLH and just trying to help her understand what the concept is. And she kept asking me, so what does it mean and how do you use it for service? I said, okay, let me put it this way. Using MLH is akin to delivering what I call a platinum care. And she said, what does a platinum care mean? I said, okay, you've heard of the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Not bad, standard. And that's what happens. And I think we do that sometimes. That's why we get 8s and 7s in our patient satisfaction surveys. But when you give somebody platinum care or treat them with MLH, you start off initially with making connection with that individual, understanding what their specific needs are. So when you honor that commitment, you're not treating them the way you want to be treated. You're treating them the way they want to be treated. And that is really the simple difference. Then she said, okay, I got it now. So, and the point really is, the moment we move from treating people the way we want to be treated to treating them the way they want to be treated, we will start getting 9s and 10s in our surveys. Over the years, I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm going to share some of it since we are in a leadership summit, and this by no means my creation, some adapted over time. First is the clarity of organizational goals. Every high-performing organization makes it very clear what their goals are, and it cascades from all the way to the top to the bottom. Gives them a laser-focused approach to resolving and solving their strategies and their issues. And to me, it is extremely important to have a laser-focused clarity in everything that we do. Second is to withhold judgment until you have all the facts. Unless you've walked in someone else's shoes, you really do not know what they're going through or what they are talking about. We all have stories. But more importantly, now we call it being curious as part of our Single-Ended training. remaining curious. That's what we call it now. So withholding judgment to me is extremely important because we're always jumping trying to get into the conversation. Just withhold that judgment, listen to understand what the facts are before making that judgment. Persistence in the face of difficulties. There will be challenges in everything that we try to do. And the key is perseverance and persistence. And you will prevail. That has served me very well over time. Find your passion. Find your passion and stick to it. You know, when I got in this, I wanted to be a medical doctor. I wanted to go back and make a difference because that was what my passion was. Fortunately, didn't do that. Ended up in a different setting, but that passion has never changed. Still there. And the last one is never accept status quo. We will always have to continue the quality improvement, or continuous quality improvement. The world is not stationary. Things will continue to change. And status quo is just not acceptable. I'm reminded about a quote from Henry Beecher who says, "Hold yourself responsible for a higher standard than anyone else expects of you." There is no doubt in my mind that our industry will continue to go through a whole lot of challenges over the next several years. Also, think of a challenging time as great times of opportunities. I feel that no matter what the changes are or what happens to our industry, there are some things that are non-negotiable for us as a system. First is our mission to serve the entire community, regardless of their ability to pay. That has served us well for the last 100 years and will continue to be serving us going into the future. Our culture, power of one culture, which is the foundation of our existence. Partnership with our physicians, unwavering commitment to our relationship with them, becoming a physician-led organization and a professionally managed enterprise is our goal. And the only way that we can serve the entire community is with our physician partners. And that is one of those that are completely non-negotiable. Total commitment to each other and our associates, because they are in the front line delivering the care that we are very proud of and the care that we want to deliver to all our patients. And finally, it's a journey towards excellence. As we continue to pursue a zero patient harm and want it to be a high reliability organization, I'm reminded of Aristotle's quote that excellence is not an act, it is a habit. It's a habit we must live every day while we're chasing zero patient harm and becoming a high reliability organization. I am truly excited about what we'll all do together and accomplish together over the next several years. And I want to thank you in advance for all that you are going to do to prepare MLH for the next 100 years. Again, I am honored, and I feel it's a complete privilege to be here to serve as your next CEO. Thank you.
Say, I think you're here. And had seating instructions we have to follow. Dawn will get after us. Michael, that was really powerful. Thank you. I mean, that was just so well done. Uh, I have a few questions for you. We just want to have a little Q&A.
Just you?
Just a few. Yeah, I'm going to kind of go off the script a little bit because I think you covered so much of what we had, and you did it so well. But you know, one of the things you talked about that I think is just so compelling and really speaks to your character is your innovative attitude, and you're kind of fearless when it comes to doing different things. I mean, the Physician Academy comes to mind. You wanted to do that. I said, that's not going to work. The doctor's not going to participate. I said, go ahead and try it. And huge success. And huge. So one story you told me was particularly, I think, it epitomizes your journey. But you saw an application for a football coach. Why don't you tell us about that story, your football coaching career?
Yeah. So when I first came to Emory, I was trying to find a job. I lived in the dorm during my master's program and went to the cafeteria, and they had, signs on the bulletin board, and one was looking for, it was a private high school, looking for a coach and assistant PE teacher. So I took the number and called, and I was called for interview. Those were the days when I was still a little fit. I used to work out a lot. And got to the interview, the coach looked at me and said, "You look like you play football." I said, "Yeah." I did play football, except you call it soccer. So he hired me on the spot and showed up to work. The next day was a drill. I had no idea what American football is. So I told him, I said, "Yeah, I meant football." He said, "Soccer." I said, "Football. This is handball. I play football." So we became very good friends, started learning a little bit about American football and started coaching, and that was how I got that job.
So when you take over Methodist Savannah Healthcare, a $1.8 billion organization, there will be, in the state of Tennessee, no other African American who has that kind of responsibility. You'll be the only CEO of a $1 billion plus corporation who is African American. And I know you're proud of that. We're proud of that. But I know, and you spoke to this a little bit, you faced some real challenges when it came to racial discrimination. One of them that was particularly poignant was the one you told me when I told you you were going to be our chief operating officer. Why don't you share that story with us and speak to how you overcame that?
I think the story you're referring to was early in my career. I was doing everything I was asked to do, and an opportunity came open, which I applied. It was a directorship position, and I was quickly told that they needed someone with 10 years experience at the time. And quite frankly, there was no one in the industry that had 10 years experience back in those days in marketing. To which I said, "I don't think there's anyone with 10 years experience." And they said, "No, that's what they're looking for." So the position was open for quite some time. And I continued to fill the role and continued to nudge them from time to time to see if that opportunity would be given to me. And finally, I was told, simply put, and it was a blunt conversation, said that the organization was not ready for an African-American director, a black director, the way it was put. So I took it to mean there was no future for me there. And I made my decision that I'm going to leave. And less than a year I left. I was part of the reason why I started my own marketing research company. I figured if I can't get what I want, and I'll just start it myself. And I ran it for 5 years, and it was very successful.
Great story. Just really a great example of one door closing and that persistence and professional will. You just opened another one, made a path for yourself. Fantastic. You talked about results or what mattered most, and can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Sure.
I mean, I think you did a good job with that in the talk. But.
Again, it's people reputation that I guess I've developed over time. And the real key there, quite frankly, is what I said earlier. Results are just outcomes, is what it is. It's not what we do. What we do is take care of patients. And when we do it extremely well, the results follow. But the importance of it is, if you're not measuring anything, you're not making progress. How would you know if you've made a difference if you don't have a way to gauge it? In every sport, we keep scores. In everything that we do, we use that as a base, a goal, or a way to measure our effectiveness or lack thereof. So I've always subscribed to the importance of truly making a difference, not just thinking that you are. And scores, results in that instance is what demonstrates that. But I also wanted to point out that it's not at the expense of what we do, particularly, everything doesn't have to be a number, And an example I gave was the power of one stories that we hear every day, and we'll hear some today, And when those things happen, there are no numbers attached to them. They're just simple acts that our associates do on their own accord without being even asked to do it. So there is no way to put a number to those kinds of things, and I'm very keenly aware of it.
Well, you've been COO for a while now. What are some of the accomplishments that you've seen during your tenure as COO that you're most proud of?
Oh, wow. I'm proud of a lot of things, quite frankly. One that comes to mind is AFS. Scores for the last 2 or 3 years has been at the top decile. It doesn't happen without everyone in this room working extremely hard and making sure that we're meeting our associates' expectation and engaging them in the work that we do. As I said earlier, they are in the front line delivering the care, and their commitment to this mission is what is being manifest itself in the AFS scores that we see. And the second is the recent magnet journey that Laverna has just kicked off for us. If you recall, they submitted an application that was completely deficient-free, and appraisers came in, and also it was deficient-free. So, the system, as a system, we have a goal to be magnet by 2020 for all our facilities, so they've kicked that off in a very profound way. That comes to mind. We had the best year ever financially. Give yourselves a hand. That's quite a credit. Our mayor relationship is one that I think of, and the way we do work across the system now, in my view, has significantly improved. We have service lines now, and we have service line administrators and CEOs serving as service line administrators, as well as we have champions for all our 5 goals. So we're able to have a dyad model that is truly forcing us, whether we like it or not, to truly work as a system. So I'm very, very proud of those things. I have to tell you, though, Gary, it wasn't easy just coming into the CEO and sitting in the corporate office. I have to tell you, I truly miss being in the hospitals. I did not realize how much energy that I was gaining from just seeing the associates every day, going into the patient care areas, talking to patients and family members. It was a little hard. I'm envious of my CEO colleagues that have that experience every day, and that was one that I truly missed.
You didn't get that same energy from me and Donna?
No.
I totally understand. Let's give a hand to the magnet journey that Le Bonheur's on. Their great success. Fantastic. Well, Michael, I know I speak on behalf of myself, the board of directors, and all 450 to 500 leaders in this room when I say we couldn't be more proud to have you as our incoming CEO. Thank you very much.